It's hard to talk about defensiveness because it's likely to make us feel defensive if we feel we're being criticized for being defensive. It seems kind of like a circular way of reasoning, but let's get into it a little bit further and see what I mean by that. Defensive behavior typically happens when we're being criticized or we feel we're being criticized or some kind of correction is being suggested to us. That's a reason for being defensive in return. Um, Generally, a lack of the ability to be introspective, to look into ourselves, to see if maybe the person has a valid point, that can make us defensive. We might assign to them the wrong motive or a different motive than is intended. So I guess that would be the wrong motive. Rather than giving them any benefit of a doubt that they're suggesting something because they care a lot about us and they want us to be mindful of what could actually make us feel better or make better choices. We take it as a criticism or a slight of some kind and maybe respond in kind. We may stop listening to them. We may make excuses for what we feel are being criticized about. We may blame them for what's going on. Try to justify our actions, perhaps, or bring up things that the other person's done in the past as a way of avoiding talking about what they want to talk about. All of these are signs of defensiveness. One particular form of defensiveness is denial. Just we won't talk about the problem at all. We'll find ways to justify what we're doing. Again, we might blame others or outside forces for the issue, or we might just decide to plow right through and keep going on with the negative behavior, or put it off. Well, we'll deal with this in the future, or in some cases, just avoid thinking about it at all. In the worst scenarios, we might exacerbate our denial by turning to self medication of some kind through alcohol or drugs or other obsessive self damaging behaviors. What I'm driving at here is that defensive behavior or defensive responses are incredibly common. I'm guilty of it. Maybe you are too. It's hard to admit it to another person. It's easier to admit it to you because I'm talking to you through a machine and I don't have to gauge your immediate reaction. But I want to bring it up because I think it's an important topic for us to relate to. If we're able to look inside ourselves, to be introspective, in other words, maybe we can get some clues into why we might be defensive. It might also help us in dealing with defensive behavior, defensive reactions that we get when we bring something up. It might help us to avoid that and to learn the difference between being defensive and being assertive. The difference, really, in a word, is respect. The respect we might show for someone else is an effort to spare their feelings when we feel the need to discuss with them our concerns about what they're doing or what they might be about to do. This takes a great deal of trust, of course, and if a relationship doesn't have that trust, it's going to be a steep hill to climb. But defensive behavior ordinarily or often can be avoided by a gentle approach, by being able to maybe set the groundwork and again providing face-saving ways out, sometimes maybe even by just asking questions so that the issue becomes first articulated by the other person in the conversation. This sounds a little bit almost shrinky, and I don't intend it for it to be that. I wanted to touch on it only because I feel this is a very common obstacle to good relationships, that we might become overly defensive when someone is gently prodding us in one direction or another, or we might provoke defensiveness by being controlling, by being insensitive, or otherwise sort of forcing our way into someone's personal space when we really don't have a right to do that. Step back, know your true motive. Is it love? Is it concern, genuine compassion? Or do you want to control somebody? By the same token, if we're on the receiving end and we're being defensive, why are we doing that? Has someone touched a nerve that we're simply incapable of talking to them about? If not, maybe we need to discuss it with someone else, or at least give it a great deal of thought so that we might be able to revisit the topic at another time when we're able to get some true progress in reconciling whatever the issue might be. So that's what I want to talk about today: defensiveness, and that very specific and sometimes often harmful subset of it, denial. Uh, Glad you all tuned in today. I'm glad that we had this chance to talk. And I think just by bringing these things out in the open, maybe I have helped to solve some of the problems, challenges that I have with being defensive. Hope so.